welcome back to the Red Zone, viewers. This week I'd like to talk to you about The Legend of Zelda on Wii U. Not Wind Waker HD on Wii U. No, not Zelda U. And no, not The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD. At least, not really. This is something kind of,
different.
Like many of you, I really enjoyed the majority of Legend of Zelda games, especially Ocarina of Time, which is still my personal favorite. I also really enjoy Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess, which makes sense when you think about it since all three of these games share a common continuity. So hey, what if all three of these were remade into one single grand Zelda adventure? Well, that'd be great! But of course, that would mean a lot of work for Nintendo. It would mean taking all of the assets from all three different games and making them work homogeneously in a single style and game engine. If only some of that work could have already been done for another game. If only.
Yes, that's right. I'm talking about using Hyrule Warriors as a basic to remake Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and Twilight Princess into one grand Zelda adventure. If you haven't heard of Hyrule Warriors, it's basically a Zelda-themed spin-off of the Dynasty Warriors series developed by Tecmo Koei and released for the Wii U on September 26, 2014. This game already contains HD textures and character and enemy models, plus the necessary sound effects. So there's already a fully developed game and engine with the majority of necessary assets, meaning development time and cost for this HD combo remake would be minimal, at least when compared to starting from scratch. Of course, Nintendo already released enhanced ports of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask for the 3DS, so why not just release an HD port of Twilight Princess and call it a day? Well, actually, that's exactly what they're doing, for the Wii U. That's not very exciting though, and besides, Hyrule Warriors presents an even greater opportunity to finally tie all three games together within a single game engine and on a current-gen home console. Think about it. Ocarina and Majora's Mask both take place around the same time and with the same link, and Twilight Princess takes place not long after, in the same setting as Ocarina of Time, and that same link does supposedly make a cameo. Now imagine if all three storylines could be brought together in a single game with a single unified style. The game could even feature a chapter between Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess explaining what happened to the Gerudo, Sheikah, and Kokiri people in the part of the child timeline where the Demon King, Ganondorf, is supposedly executed. They could explain how Link became the hero Shade. Heck, they could even add a prologue chapter featuring the Great War referred to in Ocarina of Time, which the Historia called the Hyrulean Civil War. And no, I'm not suggesting these games be recreated polygon for polygon again. I think Grezzo did an amazing job on Ocarina of Time 3D, and it was much more than a simple port, but it was also a far cry from a real remake, which is what I'm suggesting here. Nintendo could actually go back and remake the world of Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and Twilight Princess to fit congruently with one another and to benefit from all the advancements in game design since their original release. Use the Hyrulean Civil War prologue to teach the player combat and targeting and puzzle solving. Let that be the introductory dungeon, so that by the time we get to the Great Deku Tree, things can start to be a bit challenging, like they were in the Forest Temple. Imagine how crazy and interesting the temples could be by the time we get through Majora's Mask and into Twilight Princess. And because Hyrule Warriors has so many playable models, the options for potential side quests is almost unlimited. Imagine playing as Sheik and adventuring through Hyrule while Link sleeps in the Chamber of Time. Imagine braving the Fire Temple as Darunia, or the Water Temple as Princess Ruto. There could even be side quests where you play as the Skull Kid in Midna. Heck, they could probably even make something for Linkle! Linkle! These side quests or missions open up the possibility of seeing the world of Hyrule from a completely different perspective. Now, obviously, this remake would require the speed and animations of the characters' movements and attacks to be altered to feel more like a Zelda game and less like a Dynasty Warriors game, but that shouldn't be too difficult. Potentially more importantly, this sort of game would require either another partnership between Tecmo Koei and Nintendo, or at least for Nintendo to have the rights to work with the coding and game engine used for Hyrule Warriors, since that game was not developed by Nintendo, but by Tecmo Koei. This could be a major legal hurdle, or it could be a simple foregone conclusion. I really have absolutely no idea. but assuming it can be done from a legal standpoint, it makes a lot of sense from a logistical standpoint. Most of the coding, engine, textures, models, and other assets are already available, and the team hard at work on Zelda U will soon be finished and looking for a new project on which to work. The original Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and Twilight Princess were a little disjointed and left gaps in the plot. Now, this may be because the plot was never intended to link up, or it may have been due to time and budget constraints, or perhaps even hardware limitations. No matter the reason, this remake would provide the opportunity for Nintendo to join these three games in a congruent whole with a single cohesive plot filling in all the gaps. With each game and scenario as their own chapter, the Hyrulean Civil War, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, the Execution of Ganondorf, and Twilight Princess, they wouldn't need to have as many dungeons as each had originally. Even with just 2 or 3 dungeons or quests for each chapter, there would be plenty of gameplay. Nintendo could take all the best elements from the original games and re-implement them in this HD remake, and some of the dungeons which didn't make the cut could be featured as side quests playable by other characters like Sheik, Darunia, Ruto, Skull Kid, or Midna. Or Linkle, don't forget Linkle. Some people feel the Hyrule Historia is silly, and the Zelda timeline unnecessary. And you know what? They may be right. I think the Historia and timeline have a lot of potential, but even ignoring the complete timeline, these 3 games have always been linked by their worlds, timelines, and plots. Long before the official timeline existed, these 3 games were linked together and deserve the chance to show what they could be as a whole instead of just as separate parts. Imagine visiting the castle and town in the Ocarina of Time chapter, and then coming back to it again in the Twilight Princess chapter, and it being the same castle and town, but years and years later. You'd have a chance to see how the town has grown and changed over the years. The same goes for the castle, which would likely have been damaged and repaired. Imagine walking the halls and seeing the toll time has taken on the castle. Imagine finally playing through the end of Majora's Mask and discovering what really happened to Link and Epona in those dark woods. Imagine experiencing the plight and hardships of Hyrule's people during the war and discovering the sacrifices made to ensure Ganon's execution. It would be so impactful, so powerful.
Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Making changes to a beloved Zelda game? This is blasphemy! That Super Virtual Boy is a heretic! Burn him! Burn him, I say! Now, that's a bit of an overreaction, and you should probably calm down. But I see what you're saying. Making changes to a beloved franchise can have some negative impacts. I mean, we all saw what happened with Other M, and more recently, the way fans reacted with pure rage and disdain to Metroid Prime Federation Force. I mean, some so-called fans went so far as to create a petition to get the game cancelled. So no. Messing with a franchise the way I'm suggesting is not usually profitable, which is probably why Nintendo had Grezzo treat the Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask ports the way they did, like glorified ports, not full-on remakes. And it worked. It kept the fans happy. I mean, I know I liked it. This is likely a major factor in why Nintendo decided to release an HD port of Twilight Princess on the Wii U, rather than delve into anything even close to the craziness that I happen to be suggesting. I get that. You know, I really do. It's a bit of a shame though, because as great as Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and Twilight Princess were on their own, they could be so much more when combined. There's so much potential for these games to become more than just the sum of their parts. But hey, let me know in the comments down below what you think of this crazy idea. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and share it with your friends. And in the meantime, stay in the zone.